the teaser on this one.
Okay.
The amount that you're paying in PG&E is going to change.
I don't like that. Wait, hold on. I'm paying really low at the moment, minus all the lights here. But yeah, hold on. Better for worse. I want to go on yours real quick. Time out.
Oh, I mean, I
That's
don't know how
mine.
much you pay. There's a lot of details, but I
I
can give
don't
you the
pay a
skinny
lot.
on it.
I'm very smart on turning off my lights. Except
Okay.
when I do this podcast, I have like all my lights on and more.
Okay, we'll touch on this and then we'll
All
finish the podcast out with yours. How about that?
right, we'll go. I'm good with that.
Okay, so today when you're paying your PG&E bill, do you have
Hmm.
any idea how they calculate it?
By wattage on the meter, and then depending on what kind of plan you get, is it like a daily time frame of when it's going to be a peak versus when it's not, or is it going to be like just a balancing out? I just got the average one because I don't use that much. I'm always at work, so mine always been floating around like 25 to 35 a month on the very low end,
So
and
you
then I
mean
don't.
like you're paying $25 to $35 a month?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I don't use that much. But but on sometimes, this is what I don't get is that I get paid zero. I have to pay zero because apparently, like the way how they reflex or how they fix it or reanalyze it. Apparently, I qualified for like I saved enough energy to like have a subsidized bill where like 2 months ago I didn't pay anything. It was zeroed, which I don't get.
Okay, I think that's the key part is you kind of have an idea of how they're charging you, but
Hmm.
you don't know,
Yeah.
right? Okay, now what if I told you that just hit that. What if I told you that you would just pay a flat rate every single month regardless of usage? What would you think?
I would have to see the prices.
Okay, okay. I'll fill you in.
for
So, for those
for me, it would be like it's the same thing as I actually wouldn't mind it, but if it's like an absurd amount, like let's just say Comcast does a promo of like $50 and it goes 70. For me, I'm going first year $50, the promo 75. Now I'm paying 125 after that. I have to find a new promo deal and talk to them and figure that out. If it's like that, I'll be pretty pissed. But if it's in the sense of my afford like where it is now, then I'll be all right with it. You know?
okay. Yeah. Okay. So, let's talk about what's the current state. So the current state, I looked it up on PG&E's website. Basically, they have all of the rates broken up into two different tiers. So there's two different ways that you qualify for either tier one or tier two. I won't get into the
Mm-hmm.
details of that, but just know that high level, there's two different tiers. Okay.
Correct.
Then from those tiers, there's different rates depending on the what day of the week it is
Mm-hmm.
or the time of the day. And then that goes to where you were saying there's basically peak hours and then there's your off peak hours. Okay. And so in all of those calculations, there's different numbers that apply to the electricity that you're using at the time. And I think that's where a lot of the complexity in trying to guess what it's going to be is kind of difficult. So the title of this article, I think, is again clickbaity, but I'll read it. So it was
I
reported by
got you though.
KTLA, and it says California power companies propose income-based rates. Here's how it's going to work. So this is an article that was posted by KTLA back in April 17th. Okay. Just off the headline, you're just kind of like income based, like
They really got me intrigued. They got my brow raising.
absolutely, right? And so high level, all of the stuff, they like has one line of the why, and then they dive straight into the numbers. But I think the why kind of does matter. It's being proposed in a way that's talking about, so it's three different areas of California that are going to be affected. PG&E, Northern California, right? San Diego Gas and Electric, enough said, San Diego. And then Southern California Electric, that's like your Orange County, LA County areas. So three of the probably, let's say, the most major metropolitan areas of California are
Mm-hmm.
pushing this forward, but they're also mandated to do it. So there was a bill that was passed last year that mandated that these companies increase transparency in the way that they're charging for their services. Um, so here there was a quote: "The law was intended to lower the amount that residential customers pay while increasing transparency with their bills. So here's the breakdown. If you're making between $28,000 and $69,000 a year, and I'll only talk about PG&E because there's a whole chart for each of these areas, but because you're in the Bay, I'll talk about that part. So if you're making between $28,000 and $69,000 a year, it'll be $30 a month.
Mm-hmm.
If you're making between $69,000 and $180,000, it'll be $51 a month. And then if you're making above $180,000 a year, it'll be $92 a month.
Then my follow-up to that question, does that state if it's a single family, like a dual, like let's say if I move in with a significant other, which I will be with that, how do they track that? And then will it be joint or will it be under tied to my name that it is going to calculate that in like that? So that's interesting because I wouldn't mind paying the 30.
So it's based off of household income. Mm-hmm. And the articles right now are saying that it's going to be a third-party service that verifies the income for each household, which means there's a bunch of gray space in terms of how. I think this is the what. If it passes, they'll figure out the how. And so there's a little bit of a gray area there. I mean, as someone that's in Washington, I'm unaffected, but I kind of like the fact that you can be in a certain band. You can just budget that in.
Yeah, no, I like that because usually like I have to guesstimate, so it's like I always top off like on the 40 ends, like just because in case. But that's what I guesstimate on my like line item budget. I actually like that. I don't mind knowing. It's like way back when even for Verizon and all the phone companies, I think the early tens. My goodness, I feel old saying that. With that, you didn't know where you're getting these surcharges come from. And then what I think T-Mobile is the one that like made the current plan that we're on kind of standardized throughout the entire like network, like on how every phone plan is. You know exactly what you're getting, you know exactly what you're paying for, minutes, stuff like that. I'm not sure if you know the correct carrier, but I'm pretty sure it's T-Mobile.
Don't know the carrier, but I do remember the time where you had to pay for minutes, you had to pay for each text message sent. You had to pay for every text message that was received.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to pay for data plans so that you could browse the internet. And then that's not including if you maybe drove to a different state and that wasn't in your plan.
Correct.
Right? So
it was hard.
Yeah. And
it was tricky.
Mean, I think T-Mobile now made it the easiest out of all of them. But it used to be horrible. Could you imagine telling someone today, like, oh, that text message you just sent costs you X amount, and each text message was like can only be a certain number of characters, so you couldn't even like, oh, well, I'm just gonna block it up in one text. It's like, no, that doesn't work that way. It's like communicating on Twitter because you're restricted on the number of characters. But if you want to get your part across, you're going to be like, read my thread for more. And you're like, no, it cost me money.
I'm good. Or what was it? Oh my goodness. Hey, call me after 9 p.m.
Yes. Or singular before they merged with AT&T. They were like, my circle.
Unlimited for my circle only. Oh my goodness.